What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Monday edition of the show. And we haven't had a Monday edition in quite some time, since really the beginning of this show. I know we usually don't have Monday episodes. It's usually Wednesdays and Fridays as of right now. But I wanted to just kind of reiterate on this whole Nico situation and talk about what's kind of next for this Tennessee football program, Josh Heupel, and this quarterback room. And could we see some changes with this roster or that quarterback room in the midst of this spring transfer portal cycle opening up today? But before we get into anything, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and leave a comment on how you feel about this. If you want the Vols to go get another transfer, another quarterback out of the transfer portal, stuff like that. And then also make sure you guys go follow to our TikTok. It's just _from the bench. So let's get right into it. As we all know, I'm not going to sit here and sound like a broken record, but Nico Iamaleava is out as the Tennessee football starting quarterback. Josh Heupel and the rest of the team has moved on from him, and it kind of leads to the question, what's next, or who's next, more importantly. And obviously in the orange and white game, we saw Jake Merklinger, the sophomore, former four-star, and George Macintyre, who's a freshman, early enrollee, signed as a five-star and ended up being a four-star for us. Still very talented recruit, in-state kid, but these guys are very talented, obviously young, freshman and sophomore. But I do think, at first, I told you on the last episode, I did not think that the Vols would go get a quarterback out of the transfer portal just because Tennessee's offense is so just hard to learn, the scheme in general. And I didn't think they'd bring somebody in to learn our offense in 4 months before SEC play, which is just absolutely nuts to even think about. That we're that close to the season. It's ridiculous. But you don't want to have just 2 scholarship quarterbacks or 2 quarterbacks in general on your roster, because you're an injury or 2 away from having to start running some wildcat at that position, and you really just do not want that at all. We want Peyton Lewis to be able to get that ball like this, and Deshaun Bishop to get that ball like this, not have to get a direct snap. So I do think that they'll go after somebody. Obviously right now, there's not a lot to choose from. It's a lot of guys who are not very good. Former 4-star Jaden Rashada, who's at Georgia last year, is still available. But, I mean, guys, people could see this Tennessee job, see that there's been a lot of successful quarterbacks come through this program, and more importantly recently, especially in Josh Heupel's offense wherever he goes, and see that they want to come compete for this starting job. In my opinion, what I think is going to happen is Gaston Moore, the former backup from last year who is not playing football anymore, but he does have another year of eligibility, will come, and that's what I think is going to happen and what I think probably should happen unless somebody stellar hits the portal. Jaden Rashada is a good talent, but, I mean, we're moving on from a guy who's greedy with money. Jaden Rashada has a lot of history with failed NIL deals and everything else under the sun. Had like a $14 million NIL deal with Florida. That fell through, ended up at Arizona State, transferred, ended up at Georgia, and now he's back in the portal. So I just don't know if I want somebody who's dang near been on 3 teams in 2 years. So, and I just don't think, as tight as this locker room sounds through all this adversity, we saw Miles Kitselman talk about it, Jeremiah Lander. These guys just seem like they're ready to play for each other and for that power T. But I do think Gaston Moore is a very realistic answer because it's an experienced guy. You don't have to guarantee him a lot of money or guarantee him any starting job, but you can just be like, Gaston, here's $400,000, which is chump change, which is nuts. Here's $400,000. Would you like to come make this quarterback job a little more interesting? And if you don't win the starting job, then you just get one more season of college football and you could call it a day. So I think that's probably the safest option and the most realistic, and hopefully the one that they do, because I think that listening to Jake Merklinger talk about Gaston Moore not too long ago and the role model that he had been and the mentor, it sounds like those guys would also help rally behind Gaston Moore. And I just feel like you're almost getting a new identity when you get a new quarterback. Not entirely, but that's whether it's a great leader or not. Like, the quarterback is one of the leaders of the football team. That was one thing Nico, I'm not going to sit here and say Nico sucks, because I do think it's funny. Like, you would have talked to this fan base 2 weeks ago, Nico was, wait for year 2 of Nico, and he's going to be a Heisman candidate this year, and this second-year jump is going to be crazy, and this, that, and the other. And now that he's gone, he sucks, and he was horrible last year. So I'm not going to start saying that. But I do think, he was not the best leader. He's definitely not the most vocal guy. That's not me breaking news here. He's obviously not the most vocal guy, and I don't feel bad for the guy, but from reports I've heard and people close to the situation, it really just does sound like his father a lot. Nico Iamaleava, your dad, if you're watching this, man, don't come after me. You're about 4 times the height and width and everything of me. You're 4 times the size of me. I don't want any problem with you, man. But it does seem like that is a lot of what's going on. Just a lot of bad ears in Nico's, a lot of bad mouths in Nico's ear, whether that be his camp, his agents, his family, who knows what. It just doesn't sound like, he's still, I know you can say he's not a kid anymore. He's getting a gazillion dollars. But realistically, he still is a kid, and he's going to definitely help. His dad's going to help that decision that's going to be made for sure. And in my opinion, I don't think Nico really wanted to leave. I just thought I think he thought that he had all the leverage coming off of spring ball. There's no way that they let their starting quarterback go with 4 months to go to the season after we just completed spring practice. But then you miss practice, man. You miss regular practice that Friday morning, and that's a big no-no, man. You can't do that. And I feel like that was just the tip of the iceberg for Josh Heupel, and that was the closing call. Also, more news on Nico. Josh Pate, one of my favorite guys who talks college football on this YouTube platform or in general, made a video, and he claims that Nico Iamaleava wanted more money. I say this, it's always going to say Nico wants more money because it is Nico. He is the player. I did just talk about his camp and his dad, but it is Nico himself who wants the more money because he is the, provider or receiver, or he is the money, if that makes sense. But Nico threatened to sit out of the Ohio State game. Obviously, we know that game did not go well. Only had 100 yards passing. Did have 2 rushing touchdowns, but it didn't go well for anybody. That game was far from just Nico's fault. Our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. But there are reports that Nico threatened to sit out of that game for more money, which, man, you got to think, how did they even go into the summer with this guy? Or not the summer, nearly go into the summer, go into the spring with this guy after he kind of tried to pull that in the winter towards the end of that season. So who knows, man? I think Josh Heupel made an excellent decision because if you would have let Nico Iamaleava back on that roster, it would have set a horrible example for your locker room. It would have been horrible all around, and I think it would have happened 3 to 4 more times in this football program from now until the start of the next season. Excuse me, I stuttered there, but from now to the next season, I feel like that would happen 3 to 4 more times with, not saying these guys, but a Jermon McCoy, a Boo Carter, your better players. Those guys would have started holding off just like Nico did. Just ridiculous, but Nico has been crystal balled as of this morning to the University of North Carolina, and I'll tell you what, man, standing off for that money, and then from what his family and the people in his ear and his dad, and then you want to go play for Bill Belichick, who is not going for that crap. Just, it's a decision for sure. I know UCLA, USC were definitely on the board. Obviously, he's not committed to Notre Dame. North Carolina yet. Notre Dame was also on the board, but UCLA and USC being back closer to home were definitely on the board. But we'll see where he goes. North Carolina is definitely a choice. That's all I'll say from what you hear. But yeah, I do think that Gaston Moore might be the answer. It just also depends on who is going to enter the portal in this spring cycle. It could be a stud. Keep in mind, everybody, I've heard Ty Simpson, I've heard Aaron Nolan, I've heard this, that, and the other. You can't transfer SEC to SEC or Big 12 to Big 12, Big 10 to Big 10. You get it. You can't transfer in conference after spring ball. So those guys are off the board. It's going to be somebody from a different conference but it won't be Ty Simpson or Aaron Nolan. If I've just seen reports of that, and that's not a possibility. It's literally impossible. It's not like they'll lose some eligibility or anything. You can't transfer from one school to the other, especially one that you play every year, like Alabama. Not that matters, but you get what I'm saying. You can't do it. But I think Gaston Moore is probably going to be the answer. But now, if you give Gaston Moore that $200K or $400K, $500K, whatever it is, you're leaving yourself north of $1 million, north of $1.5 million to play around with. Could you go, as bad as it sounds, trying a little tamper action with another quarterback that you like and think could fit inside your offense to bring him to Tennessee? Do you hope that just a stud enters the portal at that quarterback position, or you just bolster up the positions around him? Obviously, we know that secondary needs help. There's some good DBs in this portal, and South Carolina just had a DB enter today. I just said that you can't transfer in conference. I'm sorry. But the secondary definitely needs help. The offensive line can always add more depth. You can always add more receivers because, as we know, those receivers are thin right now, man. But just a little shout-out, Rodarius Jackson, heck of a day at that orange and white game. The freshman 6'2" in-state guy, early enrollee as well, showed out, man. One-handed catch, touchdowns, you name it. He was balling out, man. So that's definitely a bright spot for the future and for this year even, because like I said, it's thin, man. You've got Brazel, Staley, Mike Matthews, Jackson, Boo Carter, and I know I'm missing some. Travis Smith, who's also a freshman. So you're thinned out, and those guys are going to have to step up and make plays, but that's definitely a bright spot. So we'll see, man. Josh Heupel, I just want to kind of shout him out as well, just because I know it's been a crazy, eventful weekend. Josh Heupel has handled this entire situation as better than anybody could have ever imagined, especially in that position. Like, he has handled this just with the most class, respect, still thanking Nico, obviously not throwing anybody under the bus, and making sure this locker room knows, like, this is about the Power T, and this is about the family and the program and the tradition that Tennessee football holds. I love to see that from him, and I really do think that this could be a turning point for this entire program. Miles Kitselman was on the record saying that this is the closest team he's ever been on. He's been on a lot of winning teams, obviously coming from Alabama, but these guys are close. They're playing for each other, and that's what you love to hear, man. Obviously, a pretty good spring game. A lot of guys aren't playing, nearly half the team, but you're seeing some young guys get under those Neyland lights for the first time around the best atmosphere that they can simulate. Obviously, it's not even close to being packed with all that construction and limited seating, but just I'm coming out of this weekend as a win as a Tennessee fan. It sucks to lose the guy that helped lead you to a berth in the college football playoff last year, but a lot of people would say that it's just the running back and it's just the defense that helped with that last year. He was definitely a part in it. Not saying he was some game wrecker and really helped us, but he helped to get us there. Let's not act stupid here now. As brutal as that kind of sounds, let's not act like he didn't help us at all, because and that's just the nature of Tennessee fans. They are a little brutal, but he definitely helped us. I wish the best of luck to Nico. It's still definitely kind of hurts because I was a big Nico fan, but I've never disliked a football player more in my life as of right now. So we'll see, man. I think this future of this program, even just next year, we're going to be all right, man. I trust Josh Heupel. I trust Danny White, and I think that Gassimore is an option. I think they could spend a lot of money on another quarterback, but we'll see. I think this future's in good hands, but a wild weekend. Nico Iamaleava is out as a starting quarterback for Tennessee. I just wanted to get on here and iterate that one more time, and that way I don't sit here and sound like a broken record on Wednesday when the news is passed. But I just wanted to talk about it one last time. But again, surprise episode coming out. I'm going to put it on the Instagram and put out that link. I'm going to schedule or post this right now instead of like posting it for tomorrow morning. But surprise episode. I really do appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you guys are tuned in on Wednesday and Friday. Thank you guys for watching, and go Vols.